has always been a very important part of the automotive world. In fact, the Mustang, the Bronco, the Challenger, even the new Nissan Z, those are all based on, well, old cars because we romanticize the past. Well, what happens when you have a vehicle that sort of looks retro, but it's also the future? Well, Hyundai decided to build that. It's the Ioniq 5. The Ioniq 5 exudes a 90s hatchback retro feel. It's a retro chic vehicle. It even has digitized early digital pixel lights in the front, in the back, along the sides. It's also even in the charging port. You also have these little retro pixel lights in the charging port. It is very retro chic, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have the future of EV technology in it. In fact, it probably has more technology than most EVs in this market. With an impressive range of up to 303 miles for its long-range rear-wheel drive version, the Ioniq 5 bests many of its competitors. The long-range all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive versions have a 77.4 kilowatt-hour capacity pack. If you do want all four wheels powered by electric motors, the range does take a hit down to 256 miles, but you get a sweet power upgrade from 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque to 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque. So why pay the extra money just for looks? Well, you don't have to answer that because, well, there's more to this vehicle than just a cool design. The interior is nice. In fact, it's much nicer than a lot of the other interiors that you find on other EVs in this segment. All the materials are nice. It doesn't feel cheap. It's very comfortable. It's roomy. It's airy. It feels larger than it actually is, which is always a plus for any vehicle. And I especially like the fact that while other automakers have gotten really gimmicky when it comes to sort of creating the future of technology and cars and EVs, Hyundai really hasn't done that. Yes, it does feel like the future in here. The car does look like some sort of retro future chic thing. But the reality is that everything that you want from a car is in here in a way that you want it. It has two nice 12.3-inch screens. The infotainment system is quick. There's not a lot of lag. I don't have to wait for something to happen. It just happens. The dash cluster is easy to read, has all the information you want without being overly, well, shoving too much information. And of course, the heads-up display is great. Heads-up displays, every car should have them at this point, as far as I'm concerned, because it's easier than doing this, and this, and this, and this. You just look ahead, and there you go. It has a digital key via the Blue Link app. You can unlock the doors and share your digital key with others, although a regular key still makes sense for most users. If you happen to be offline, the car will support locking and unlocking the vehicle up to 15 times with your phone before it needs to connect to the cloud again. In other words, if you decide to go camping somewhere where there isn't any connection, be sure to bring your key. Behind the wheel, the Ioniq 5, it handles really well for an SUV. Of course, it is an EV, so there's always this sort of weird expectation that's been set by Tesla that all EVs need to be crazy fast. Well, I mean, you still have EV torque. You have this, whee, which is nice. It's wonderful. You have a sport mode, which is great. But for the most part, it'll take care of the needs of 95% of people who are looking for something a little sporty. The handling is a little bit better than your average SUV. You have that nice low center of gravity, but you still get some body roll. The driving by wire system, it's tight. You don't have a lot of play, which is nice. And it doesn't feel too video gamey. You do get a little bit of feedback, which is I am a fan of, because when you get something that doesn't, as you're going in and out of a corner, if everything feels exactly the same, then nothing feels right. The infotainment system supports a natural language speech system. It also has the blind spot review and driver's assistant with auto lane change and a lane scooch system that moves the vehicle in a lane in order to adjust it for vehicles in adjacent lanes. So if you're driving down the highway and say a giant tractor trailer is sort of moving into your lane, the vehicle will recognize this and sort of scoot you a little bit away from it. This car. Right now I'm driving the all-wheel drive limited variant of the Ioniq 5. It has more power, a little bit less range than the rear-wheel drive. But, if you're trading range for power and fun, driving through the mountains on this nice windy road, it feels very smooth transitioning through the corners. Doesn't feel jagged, doesn't feel like it's out of control at any point. You get all-wheel drive, you're gonna get that extra traction, that extra stability while you're driving. It'll be interesting to see what it's like when we have the rear-wheel drive version in and drive that around some of these corners. The design of the vehicle very much resembles the hot hatches of the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. It does have a very long wheelbase, and it has these nice pop-out door handles and these short overhangs so that the wheels are pushed all the way to the edge of the vehicle. And that gives you this very nice stretch cabin, which gives you that nice airy feeling with a lot of room inside the vehicle. With the potential of 303 miles of range for this vehicle, 303 miles is a long time. That's like 6 hours on the road. That's 6 hours of you sitting in the same seat. And I will tell you, this is a very comfortable same seat to be sitting in. The headrest is nice and squishy. The seat is squishy without feeling too bulbous, which is, some cars have this very bulbous feeling. It's a nice squishy seat, but it feels bulbous, and after a while, that causes fatigue in your lower back. This doesn't have that. I feel it has just enough, just a little bit, a scooch of side bolster to keep me from sliding out of my seat as I kind of get all sporty in this vehicle. And if that's not enough, the Ioniq 5 has a fun vehicle-to-load system that allows you to power, other stuff. You can plug in your waffle iron, your TV, even another EV if you want to wait around for it to charge. The system supports an output of 1.9 kilowatts. On the limited trim, the plug is in the vehicle, but on the other trims, you can get an optional cable that plugs into the charge port and allows you to plug, anything into a regular house outlet. It'll also charge quicker than most anything else on the road. That's because of an 800-volt architecture. In fact, this vehicle will charge at 350 kilowatts. That's faster than, everything. It looks great. It has a range of up to 303 miles. It looks nice inside, it's comfortable inside, and it charges quicker than most anything else on the road. So is it worth the extra money over the Kona Electric or the Chevy Bolt? Yes, it is. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 will start rolling out into select states now, usually states that get a lot of EV sales. For the rest of the country, it'll roll out into all 50 states sometime in 2022. For more automotive coverage of electric EVs next to a big field and saying things that are redundant like electric and EV, be sure to subscribe to Engadget. Bye.